Welcome to WiseTake.com. This is CK013. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And yes, we are bringing you another NBA DFS podcast. It is Wednesday, February 15th, 2017. I hope you guys had a fantastic Valentine's Day. I had a very good Valentine's Day with the wife. Went out with the brother, sister-in-law, niece, nephew. Had a great dinner. Went out for some Indian food. If you don't know anything about Indian food, or if you do, I recommend trying butter chicken. It is delicious. If you like sweet, if you like some spices, but you like the sweet kind of taste, like a sweet kind of curry kind of thing, definitely recommend some butter chicken. I think it's called like chicken makhani is like the other name for it, but definitely recommend it. To make things better for me, I played one lineup last night, and dude, my GPP didn't cash, but all my cash games luckily cashed. I took a chance. I faded LeBron. I faded Boogie, and I faded Butler. But I was able to. Luckily, Wiggins, who always plays great against the Cavs for whatever reason. Maybe it's because they traded him or whatever. But he completely smashed for me. He got 51 points, and that was my whole debate: was to play LeBron or to play Wiggins. It was between those two. Obviously, Boogie was a guy I wanted, but I figured everybody would be going after Boogie, and I knew he was going to smash. I was just hoping that by avoiding some of those value plays that everybody else I knew was going to take, I was hoping that I would have enough to cash in the cash games, and that was the case. I went with a balanced approach, and it worked out well. I think the cheapest guy that I played was Gibson. Obviously, I didn't even play Fry. Can you believe that I cashed? I didn't even play Fry. I don't know how that one slipped by me, but I ended up not playing Channing Frye. I played Taj Gibson instead, and it really bit me in the butt. But hey, a win's a win. A winning day is a winning day, and I'll take that anytime. So yeah, so we got a 14 game slate to get through today. It's a lot. We also had we have a lot of injuries to get through. I'd like to go position by position if we have enough time. And we had a big trade go down. We had Serge Ibaka was traded for Terrence Ross. So the Magic and the Raptors made a trade. I think that's going to make things pretty interesting in the East with Ibaka going to the Raptors. I think he's a perfect fit. They haven't really had a true power forward that's reliable or dependent, I should say, or dependable, the entire season. So I think that Ibaka is going to give him that presence. He should be able to crash the boards now. In Orlando, he was becoming more of like a small forward kind of player, even though, traditionally he's your typical power forward. So if he can get back to those ways, because they don't need him to do that. They have, first of all, they have DeMar Carroll playing the small forward position. They got DeRozan playing shooting guard, but he kind of acts as a small forward in most cases. And they got Larry at the point. So they're going to need him to play that power forward role. They're going to need him to get some boards. They're going to need him to help out Valanciunas down low with defense and offense. But I think it's a great addition. I think they were missing that one more key player. And Ibaka's proven that he's not just a role player. He can be a functioning member of the team. So I think that's a great trade. As far as the Magic, they're just dumping everybody. It looks like they're going to rebuild again. I do like Terrence Ross. I like his potential. So I think that even though this year I might not be rushing to play him, I do think he's got some pretty good potential there. So I'm not all that upset with the Magic acquiring him. Unfortunately for Magic fans, it does look like they're packing it up, but you probably expected that by now. And yeah, so I believe that on FanDuel, Ibaka is listed as a Toronto player. On DraftKings, he is not. So on DraftKings, they already made an announcement that Terrence Ross and Ibaka will not be able to accrue fantasy points. To be honest, I don't even know if they're playing in these games. I know they didn't play yesterday. I don't know if they're playing today. But still, it's something that's worth considering here. One thing that I thought was interesting and what I wanted to do is I wanted to pull up. I'm doing it right now as we speak. I'm trying to pull up the Orlando Magic. I just want to see how they do without Serge Ibaka. And okay, so it looks like they've already removed him from the tool. What I'm using is the Chord IQ feature over at rotogrinders.com. It's an awesome feature. It's free, and it's a good way to see where the usage goes. So it looks like Vooch and Fournier are the guys that get the biggest bump here. I would have thought that, well, I guess it's a small sample size, really, but I would have thought that Aaron Gordon would pick up some of that slack. So I think he will. Obviously, he shares minutes with Jeff Green, so I think that those two are interesting. But I think Fournier is at a pretty good spot. But we'll talk about that as we go. We're going to start off by talking about some injuries here. So Thaddeus Young is questionable with a wrist at Cleveland. Lavoy Allen is also questionable with a knee at Cleveland. That makes things a little interesting. If both guys are out, I think you can look towards Serafin again. I did that last time, and it didn't hurt me. I was okay with it. He didn't exactly he's not going to put up a 50 burger for you, but hey, he's super cheap and you can probably easily pay value if he's going to get all those minutes. So obviously, if one of these guys are playing, you can't really go with Seraphin because one of these guys will probably get some run. I don't like either of these guys, Thad Young or Lavoy Allen, to be honest with you. So I'll probably stay away from that situation. But I will play Seraphin if both these guys are out. Obviously, we know Kevin Love is out, so LeBron and Kyrie are going to still soak up that usage. But keep in mind, they are playing on the back end of a back-to-back. We talked about Ibaka. Bogut is doubtful with a hamstring at Detroit. When they don't have Bogut, they can't really protect the rim that well. So that puts Drummond in a very, very favorable spot. However, it is a pace-down spot for both teams. They're both two of the slower-paced teams in the league, so you're going to have to consider that when considering this matchup. Embiid's expected to miss with his knee at Boston. Jahlil Okafor was pulled for a trade. However, from what I understand, he rejoined the team over in Boston, and he's supposed to play tonight. So I don't know what's going on with the trade rumors. I don't know. I heard something about maybe they wanted to give him one last game. I don't know. I don't know why he would want to do that. If a team wanted to trade me, I wouldn't want to play one last game for you. But maybe that's false. Maybe he's not going to get traded. I think he will. It makes sense, but I don't know. So he's supposed to play. So he's coming off the bench from what I understand. And Noel is still going to start. It does lower. I like Noel a lot again, as I did last time in the situation. I don't like him as much because Okafor is here to soak up some of those minutes. So I'm not as crazy about Noel at his price as I was the other day when he went. Jaylen Brown is doubtful to play against Philly. So we can look at guys for punt options and GPPs. You can look at like a Gerald Green. That's option. In cash games, you can look at a Marcus Smart who should soak up some of those minutes. We saw Smart did a pretty good job. Now listen, Smart's a terrible shooter. So what you're looking for with Smart is you're looking for peripherals. You're looking for a little bit of scoring. He's going to take a lot of shots. Doesn't mean he's going to make a lot of shots. He hasn't been lately. And you're looking for those steals. He is a pretty good defender. You're looking for steals. You're looking for any kind of blocks, rebounds, assists, anything like that. So that's what you're looking for with Smart. But he is going to play a lot of minutes, and his salary is cheap enough that he's not going to kill you. So I do think that I certainly think that there is merit in rostering him today. Let's see. Cody Zeller and Miles Plumlee are both expected to miss against Toronto. So for me, I mean, you probably figured it out. His price is up. I think he's up at $6K now. But still, Frank the Tank, it's going to be hard for me not to lock him up in pretty much every lineup. Just for the simple fact, listen, if you look at his last game, he did well. He did phenomenal, and I was extremely happy I rostered him. I put him 100% of my lineups last time. He played 38 minutes, and before that, he played 36 against the Clippers. This guy took 16 shots in back-to-back games. Granted, he didn't shoot very well. He was 5 for 16 against Philly. He still shot 16 shots. He was 1 for 6 for 3. He shot 6 threes in 2 games in a row. So I think that he's going to be chucking again. Now, he's on the road against Toronto this time, so it makes things a little interesting. From what I've seen, believe it or not, it's a smaller sample because he's played less games on the road, but his shooting percentage is actually a little higher on the road. There's not enough of a sample size there to make it balanced, so I'm not going to go by that. But I think Kaminsky's floor here is probably, in my opinion, his floor has got to be around 30 DraftKings points. And for 6K, for his floor to be 5X, I think that's a pretty good cash game deal. I'll probably put him in my GPP suit. This guy is going to play monster minutes. I'm not very afraid of Valanciunas. And more importantly, Valanciunas is not going to be able to get out there to cover Kaminsky. Now, if Ibaka does play today, that could shake things up a little bit because I can see them trying to put Ibaka on Kaminsky. But even if Ibaka plays, I don't see him playing mega minutes to start. He still has to get acclimated to the system. He's got to get acclimated to his teammates. And he just got there, yesterday? So I wouldn't imagine Ibaka to play a lot even if he does play. So either way, I do like Kaminsky a lot today, even at 6K. I'm not sure what his price is on FanDuel. If it's anything higher than that, you're going to have to consider. But he was extremely cheap on FanDuel for a while. So keep an eye on that situation. Ramon Sessions is also out. So in GPPs, if you want to take a shot on a guy like Jeremy Lamb, you certainly can. He's really, really cheap, I believe. Yeah, $3,300 for Jeremy Lamb. The matchup isn't the greatest, but he's been taking a lot of backup point guard minutes from Kemba, from covering for Ramon Sessions. So if he's going to back up at the 2, 3, and the 1, we should see a little bit more. We should continue to see a little bit more of a run. Now, his minutes have been down lately, but he still produces. He's 15 minutes against Philly, 16 against the Clippers. Against Brooklyn, he only played 19 minutes, and he put up 28.75. So A GPP flyer is all he is. I would not put him in cash games, and I wouldn't rely on him in GPPs to anchor your team. But at 3,300, if you're looking for a punt, he's somebody you can consider, I guess. He's not somebody I'm going to be playing today, but you can certainly consider him. Moving on, Josh Richardson is expected to return after the All-Star break. Ryan Anderson is probable against Miami. Eric Gordon is probable against Miami. And I think that kind of takes away, if Anderson wasn't playing, you could certainly look to a guy like what's his name, Ariza, to pick up some of the slack, though he hasn't had the greatest season. If Aaron Gordon wasn't playing, you could have looked a little bit more at Beverly. However, with Eric Gordon back, that's a situation where they'll put him in at the 2 off the bench, and then they'll move Harden to the 1, which puts Beverly on the bench. So anyway, Dante Cunningham is expected to miss for personal reasons. Terrence Jones is expected to miss with a thumb injury. That was for the New Orleans Pelicans. There's not too much to really talk about that. I mean, obviously with Cunningham out, Solomon Hill is going to get a lot of run. However, he's not a big producer. You can take a shot at GPP, super cheap as always. Terrence Jones, if he's out, they're going to be pretty thin down low there. So you can look at what's his name, Monty Eunice if you want. I'm not going to go there. When he first came into the league, he started off, he only had a few minutes and he crushed. So people just assume that's the kind of player he was. But I think we're starting to see that's not necessarily the case. So you can certainly take a shot. It's just not somewhere I'm going to go. Mason Plumlee is expected to make his debut for the Nuggets. However, we don't know, and I do like the matchup somewhat down low. What we don't know is how many minutes he's going to play, and we don't know how he's going to fit into the system with Nikola Jokic. Again. You know what I'm talking about. The GOAT, Nikola Jokic. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, I butchered that. Anyway, so there's a lot of questions here. Now, I will say he is extremely, extremely, extremely cheap. He's 4K on DraftKings. But again, we don't know how many minutes he's going to play. I don't envision him playing too many minutes. Now, on the other hand, Denver is pretty banged up. And matter of fact, let's go over some of that. So, Moutier is questionable with a back. I think he's closer to doubtful. I think Farid is, from what I saw, he was listed as questionable, but I thought I saw he was ruled out with an ankle. Wilson Chandler is questionable with an illness. Daryl Arthur, I have him listed as questionable, but I heard he's also out, and obviously we know Gallinari's out. So they're pretty banged up. So what does that mean? It means they might have to play Plumlee a little more than they want to. Now, they do have Hernan Gomez, who went on a tear last time. I missed that boat. I had a winning day, but I didn't play Hernan Gomez, and he completely smashed. You did not win a GPP. You did not win a large GPP if you did not play Hernan Gomez. This is different. He's going to have Plumlee in the lineup. So I don't know if we can go all in on Hernan Gomez because we don't know if he's going to get that kind of run. Hernan Gomez is going to play the 4 or the 5. That's it. He's a big man. I'm sorry. He's probably going to play the 5, and they'll probably have Jokic play the 4. Not positive on that, but either way, Plumlee's going to be down low. That's where he belongs. He belongs down low. So he might take away some of these minutes for Hernan Gomez. He might take away some of these minutes. I guess Hernan Gomez and Jokic are pretty much the only guys that you really have to worry about. So they might have. My point is, even though in a situation like Ibaka, where I'm saying he shouldn't get any run, they might have to use him. So we're going to want to pay close attention to that because at 4K, that's an extremely good deal against a Minnesota team that is not good defensively down low. Of course, staying with the same game, Jameer Nelson is expensive. I don't think I'm going to go there against Rubio, but if Mudio is out, he is in line to play a lot of minutes once again. If Chandler doesn't play, we can yet again look at Barton. Even though the matchup is going to be much tougher today against Wiggins, we saw Wiggins is no slouch defender. I mean, don't get me wrong. A guy like LeBron, when you look at him compared to LeBron, LeBron's obviously much bigger and stronger than he is, so LeBron can kind of bully him. Barton, that's not necessarily the case. So if Wilson Chandler plays, I think Chandler is a little stronger, and I think Chandler's obviously an option. But still, this Denver team is somewhere we're going to want to do some investigating because I think there's a lot of really good fantasy plays within this game. And just give me a second. I'm trying to pull up what the total is of this game. And, okay, they don't have a line out yet. So we're still waiting on news to see who's playing, yada, yada, yada. We don't have a line out just yet. That's okay, but keep an eye on this Denver game because the total should be pretty high. They're playing a Minnesota team that's on the back end of a back-to-back. Now, I do have a little bit of concern with the fact that they did score so many points and they just beat Golden State. In the sports betting world, we would look at this as a situation where the proverbial, from what I understand, they would refer to it as a letdown spot beating a super good team by a lot at home, and then coming the next game it's going to be tough for them to get up for this game. They just beat the Golden State Warriors. They're going to get up for the Minnesota Timberwolves. So I still am going to attack this game just because I think there's a lot of opportunities and routes to go. But at the same time, I'm not going to lock anybody from this game necessarily. Well, I could. If Wilson Chandler's out, I'll probably lock in Barton. And if Jokic is obviously a great play. I mean, his price is back up there, but I mean, he's proven, I think, to everybody, especially with the amount of minutes he's been playing lately. I think he's kind of proven to everybody that he could ball, and he's gonna ball. So on the WiseTake projections, we have him projected for 27 minutes. That's from NumberFire. That's not the case. You can add another probably 10 minutes to that, and his projected points per minute is 1.38. So you do the math. He projects pretty high naturally if you use the correct minutes. So I think that the Denver game is interesting in general, especially against, like I said, a team in Minnesota that's not very good defensively down low. They are a good defensive team. Thibodeau is their coach. He's a defensive mind. And they have guys like Wiggins. They had Levine, who was a good defender. Terrible. Anyway, Karl-Anthony Towns is not a good defender. So Nikola Jokic at 10-3, certainly in play as always. It's amazing, though, that he is now $100 more expensive than Cat. He's $300 more expensive than Anthony Davis. He's more expensive than Steph Curry, Kevin Durant. And you know what? He deserves it. This guy is just phenomenal. He's just phenomenal. Anyway, let's keep it going here. I think it's Nurkic is expected to play today for Portland. Again, we don't know about his minutes. We saw that they needed a center last time. They had Ed Davis and Myers Leonard against Howard and Millsap, and both those guys feasted. So it's gonna be interesting. Also, Aminu is out. So they're going to be down one of their power forwards down low. So you can look at I don't know if they're going to play a guy like, what's his name? Noah, I can never pronounce his last name. Noah Vonleh. He's only 3K. He's the starter every night, but they are playing Utah, and we don't know. This guy doesn't play a lot of minutes. So I don't know. Maybe they'll throw in Myers Leonard at the 4. Maybe they'll put Ed Davis at the 4. We don't know. So if you can figure out that situation, if you could figure out who they're going to use off the bench, maybe check and see the last time Aminu didn't play, who got the run. Of course, it makes things interesting with Nurkic because we're going to want to know how many minutes he's going to get. Now, his first matchup for the team isn't the greatest. He's going to be going up against Rudy Gobert, and that's going to be tough. So I would imagine they might play this guy a lot. And if they do, he's another dude that's just super, super cheap at $3,900 on DraftKings. So we got a lot to consider. It's a great GPP slate just because there's so many options. Cash games might be a little on the tougher side because there are so many options today. But GPPs, it's a great GPP day to just put in a bunch of lineups, maybe use a lineup tool, generate it, bam, and just fire away. But again, Aminu is expected to miss, so I think that could open up some value for somebody. Maybe it is Nurkic. I don't know. But we're going to want to pay close attention to there. Obviously, Evan Turner is still out. Evan Turner out doesn't really make me like Mo Harkless that much, even though he did come off a good game. He's too inconsistent for me. I mean, in GPPs, if you want to punt with him, that's fine. I wouldn't do it against Utah just because it's a pace down spot. But I think Gordon Hayward becomes a phenomenal player. I don't see a way in which they hold him. My only concern is that Gobert and Favors are also in really good spots, so I'm concerned that they might take it up. I mean, to be honest, the entire Utah team's in a good spot. Portland is not a good defensive team, and one of their better defenders, Evan Turner, is out. So I think guys like George, you know what? We'll talk about those guys. I just wanted to mention Gordon Hayward because I think that Evan Turner's injury directly affects him. So I do like that. Rodney Hood is out for the Utah side, so you can continue to roster Ingles and those guys if you want. And, of course, there's more shot attempts to go around for Gordon Hayward. Joakim Noah is doubtful with a hamstring against Oklahoma City. You can certainly look at guys like Willie Hernan-Gomez as well as Kyle O'Quinn. Last time I was wrong. I said it wasn't going to be an O'Quinn night, and it wasn't. It was a Hernan-Gomez night again. I don't think either of them did that great, but O'Quinn did not do well. So this is a situation where I would assume that O'Quinn would have to be the guy because they're going to have Adams. Now, on the flip side, I love Adams today. At $5,900, it's going to be super hard for me not to lock him up in cash games. He's only $5,900, and I get because his production has been lagging a little bit lately. But if we take a look, so we played 19 minutes against Washington. That was a blowout. Let's not look at that. They were probably a little tired. That was a blowout. But before that, 35 minutes against Golden State, 39 against Cleveland, 37 against Indiana, and he's in a phenomenal matchup against the Knicks. Hernan-Gomez is probably going to start, and I don't see him being strong enough to hold Adams down. I don't know if any of you watched when the Knicks played Denver, but Jokic just bullied Hernan-Gomez. When they had Hernan-Gomez in there, he bullied him. He literally just dribbled, bounced him to a point where he pushed him about 3 or 4 feet back, and then next thing you know, when he looked up, he was right under the hoop. I think Adams can certainly do stuff like that. I can see Hernangomez either getting in foul trouble or not just not being aggressive enough or strong enough to hold Adams. With that said, I do think O'Quinn is a better matchup here because he's a little stronger, a little thicker. However, I still think Adams is in a phenomenal spot. I don't think O'Quinn's going to be capable of stopping him. I do think O'Quinn is an interesting option. I would love to put him in cash games if I knew he would get run. I would imagine they're going to use him here against Adams because, like I said, O'Quinn is the stronger of the two. He's the heavier of the two, more experienced of the two. So I would imagine O'Quinn is the guy who gets majority of the run, even if Hernangomez starts. But the Knicks, Hornacek has proven that we can't trust that. We don't know. So regardless, I think Adams is a great play. Let's see. Thabo Cephalosha is questionable with a groin. You can obviously keep looking at Hardaway. His price is coming up to $6K. It's a little scary. But he is performing and he is playing a lot of minutes. So I do think he has to be considered if Thabo is out. Ty Lawson is questionable yet again. I don't like this spot for Sacramento. They're on the back end of a back-to-back. They've done pretty good against bigs in general. I know Zaza and David West are both out, so they've been like hurting down low with McGee down there. But you know they're going to be playing super pissed. They just got embarrassed by Denver in Denver. Their starters were pulled, so they were rested. The starters were pulled most of the game, and the Kings are on the back end of a back-to-back. So I think Boogie is still okay for. I'm not off of Boogie because of the back-to-back. Boogie has shown us that back-to-backs don't really affect him. It's it's Golden State. They're going to be playing super pissed. They're going to come out here swinging. They're going to come out here motivated, pumped up, and I think this game could get pretty ugly pretty quick. Klay Thompson is probable. He's in a phenomenal matchup against Sacramento. Sacramento is horrible against shooting guards, and Sean Livingston is also questionable for personal reasons, but I don't think that has too much of an effect. But that's going to do it for the injury aspect. There might be a couple more that I'm missing. I am recording this early in the morning, and last night obviously was tough. So just going over a few people. We're running out of time here. We've got a lot to get through. So a couple of guys that I thought were interesting on the point guard. Obviously, we know Westbrook. Westbrook's in a phenomenal spot against the Knicks. Just phenomenal. Harden is in a good spot against Miami. Giannis is in a great spot at 10-8 against Brooklyn. Kyrie against Indiana is in a decent spot, but he is on the back end of a back-to-back, so you might want to check his stats there. Lowry is 8K, also on the back end of a back-to-back against Charlotte, against Kemba, so keep an eye on that. Lillard is super cheap at 7.8, but I don't think I'm going to be riding that train. Not against Utah. Even though that if you want to attack Utah, I think point guard is one of the better places to go. Anyway, Kemba 7.6. His price stayed the same. He's got a matchup with Toronto. He is on the road, so you want to be weary there. Rubio 7.3 against Denver. It sounds great on paper. It sounds like a phenomenal matchup, but it's a back end of a back-to-back, so you're going to want to check the stats. See how Rubio does on back ends of back-to-back. See how his team does, because if his team's going to get blown out, it doesn't really matter for him. We don't know that. I'm not saying they will. I'm just saying you want to check those stats. Dragic at 7.2. It's a great price for Dragic, in my opinion, against Houston. Super pace-up spot. Should see a lot of opportunities. Obviously, we talked about Hardaway at 6K if Thabo is out. I think Derrick Rose at 5'8 is interesting against Oklahoma City. Am I dying to play him? Not necessarily, because, if Jennings was out, then yeah, sure, I'd play Rose all day. But because Jennings is there as the backup, we don't know for sure. But I think he's interesting at 5.8. Also, George Hill at 5.8. George Hill has not been playing well, and I think he's been having some issues with his toe. If we get the go that he's at full strength, if we find out George Hill is completely healthy, this is a phenomenal matchup for him against Lillard. It could be a guy that you can plug into your cash games just because he's so cheap. Has he been reliable lately? Not necessarily. But like I said, if we think he's going to get full run, I don't think he has a problem hitting his salary. Because you figure 5x on 6K is 30 DraftKings points. So if you're comfortable with 5x, George Hill at 5'8", I think can easily hit that against a bad Portland defense, especially against Damian Lillard, who's a horrible defender. Not to mention McCollum's not a good defender either, so there's really not even a way they could put the two on him because they're both pretty bad defenders in my opinion. Yogi Ferrell at 4.7 against Detroit. It's a pace-down spot. It's an ugly spot, but in GPPs, if you want to take a chance on a punt, I think Yogi's certainly in play. Even though D-Will's back, Yogi's still been seeing 30 minutes. D-Will's on a minutes limit. So I think we can still take advantage of that. Eventually, that train's going to end. D-Will's going to take over, reclaim his throne over there at the point guard position. That'll end. But for now, I think it's still in play. Moving on to shooting guard, Barton is obviously at 7.3. His price came way up. But if Wilson Chandler is out, I think you kind of have to play him in cash games. Booker is 7.2 against the Clippers. I'm not a fan of his price, but we know what his upside is. I love Dion Waiters today. He's probably going to be the guy I'm looking to at cash. He's 7K, and we know he's going to chuck up shots. So I think if you're looking for that mid-tier way to go in cash or GPPs, I think Waiters is a solid play today. Oladipo's in a solid position. He's $1,000 cheaper at 6K against the Knicks. The Knicks are terrible against shooting guards. Oladipo's he's hit or miss. If he's not hitting his shots, it's rough, but he plays hard, and he's been pretty consistent lately. So I do like Oladipo at 6K a lot. Fournier, 5.9 against San Antonio. He's probably the only Magic guy I like in this position. Obviously, for GPPs, you could take a chance on a guy like Vooch. But Fournier, not only does he get the usage bump with Ibaka out, but San Antonio struggles the most against the shooting guard position. So I think that Fournier's in a great spot at 5.9. I wouldn't put him in cash because of the team they're playing. But in GPPs as an option, I would definitely consider him. Lou Will at 5.8. He's on a back-to-back, but he's got a phenomenal matchup against Phoenix. He crushed it last night, and he comes off the bench. So it is what it is. He's very scoring dependent. So if he's not hitting his shots or he's not getting the minutes, because the minutes are suspect. There's a lot of games lately where he hasn't played more than 20, but he's still been producing. So he's a hit or miss, but he's definitely in play. I think KCP is super cheap at 5K. Dallas has been pretty bad against two guards this season, and at 5K, I know he's been struggling. He's burned me a few times already recently, but his price is so cheap that you have to consider him. Tony Allen at 4.5 against New Orleans in play, and Redick at 4.5 against Atlanta. Certainly in play. Atlanta's bad against shooting guards. Moving on to small forward, you got LeBron at 10.5 against Paul George. He is on the back end of a back-to-back, but they're home and Love is out, so you can certainly consider him. Kevin Durant at 9.7 against Sacramento. Don't see anybody that's going to stop him there. Wiggins at 7.9. His price came way up against Denver, and it's the back end of a back-to-back. I'm a little concerned with taking a guy like Wiggins after he just put up a ridiculous amount of actual points. So I don't know about Wiggins, but I think on paper it's a great spot. I think he'll be fairly chalky because of what he did yesterday. PG-13 against Cleveland. He's 7.9, and LeBron's been okay to target against. I got to admit, he has been okay to target against. So I think PG-13 is certainly in play. Oh, I forgot to mention Jeff Teague on the point guards. Jeff Teague, 7.4 against Cleveland. I think he's a phenomenal play also. He crushed against Cleveland last time. Kyrie is not a good defender. I'm not afraid of that defense. So I definitely think Jeff Teague is certainly in play. Anyway, Carmelo Anthony at 7.6, definitely in play. I know Roberson's going to be on him, but Melo is a shooter. It's hard for good defenders like Roberson to stop shooters because they're pretty good at preventing him from. Carmelo can shoot under duress. He pretty much always shoots under duress. So I think he's certainly fine at 7.6 for GPPs. Hayward at 7.3. I love Hayward today. I talked about that against Portland. Wilson Chandler, if he does play, he's only 6.7, so he's certainly an option. You can consider playing him over Barton, because he'll probably start, and he's significantly cheaper. Dario Saric has been crushing. He's 5.8. He's expensive. He comes off the bench. That's a lot of money to pay for somebody who comes off the bench, but he's been playing that well that you still got to consider him. He might have a tougher matchup today if he plays small forward with Crowder, but we don't know. He could end up playing some 4 as well. Harrison Barnes is only 5.7. Against Detroit, it's not the greatest matchup. It's a pace down spot, but at 5.7 for Harrison Barnes, I think that's way too cheap. And I definitely do think I like Barnes today. Even TJ Warren against the Lakers, phenomenal spot for him too. It's 5K, pace-up spot. It's just typically a spot where he crushes. I'm not afraid of Brandon Ingram defense. And he's only 5K, so he's interesting. Power forward, you got Boogie at 11.3, certainly in play on a back-to-back. Karl Anthony Towns is also in a back-to-back, 10.2 against Denver. I'm not crazy about Towns today. I'd much rather play Jokic for just $100 more. Blake Griffin, 9.5 against Atlanta, certainly in play. Millsap, 7.9 against the Clippers. I'm not too big on Millsap because he's going to have Blake Griffin defense. Let's see. Draymond Green, 7.5 against Sacramento, certainly in play. We can't talk about Ibaka because he's not going to count. KP6, 6.5 on DraftKings against Oklahoma City. Who's going to stop KP6? If Adams is going to have to cover, even if Adams covers Porzingis, he can't cover Porzingis from the perimeter. So I'm seeing, I guess Sabonis would be on him. Sabonis on Porzingis. I like the Zinger a lot today. KP6 all day. I called him the Zinger. I know he doesn't like that, but I definitely like KP6 today. You got Aldridge, Randall, Nerlens Noel, James Johnson's in a great matchup against Houston. We talked about Kaminsky. Ilyasova's in a phenomenal spot at 5.2 against Boston. His price is coming down. His production's been down, but his price is following, so that's a good sign. And then Derek Favors at 5.1 against an amino-less Portland, also in a very good spot. Of course, his minutes haven't been the greatest lately. But anyway, Hernan Gomez, 4.6 against Minnesota. I am a little concerned that people are going to rush to play him because he's cheap, and I'm concerned that with Miles Plumlee playing today, I think it's going to directly affect his minutes specifically. So I think he should get some run, but I'm not expecting him to get the mega run that we saw last time. Aaron Gordon at 4.6 is certainly in play just because his price is so cheap, and Ibaka is out. So Jokic at 10-3, he's the man. Love Jokic. He's probably my favorite center today. I don't know if I'll be able to play him in my cash games because he is expensive, and I do like Adams a lot, but it's definitely a monster spot for Jokic. Anthony Davis, 10K against Memphis. I'm not too crazy about the spot for him. Whiteside, 8.5 against Houston. Phenomenal spot for Whiteside. It's a pace-up spot. I think he could do some damage here. Drummond, we talked about Bogut being out. He's 7.6. We know Drummond has that 50-point upside. I love Drummond today. Gasol, 7.5 against New Orleans in a phenomenal spot. Gobert, 7.4 against Portland. Great spot. Horford, 6.8 against Philly. That's super cheap and a good spot. Brolo is only 6.7 in his matchup today against Milwaukee. How about, real quick, I don't know if I talked about Giannis. Giannis is in a fantastic spot. Now, he's expensive and he's not been playing well, but against Brooklyn, Giannis, fantastic spot. No rim defender. Giannis don't have to shoot. He could drive and dunk, so I definitely like Giannis a lot today. I think I mentioned that, but I had to say it again. Capella, 5.7 in a very good spot against Miami. They're not good. Whiteside, I'm not concerned about his defense. Monroe at 5.4 looks like a great spot on paper. Be careful. He just put up a 50 burger. I think people will rush to play him. That's not necessarily safe. We talked about Kyle O'Quinn. Guys you can look to is Dedmon at 4.6. You can certainly look at Dedmon against Orlando. They're very bad against centers. Vooch is a tournament-only play, but you can consider Vooch without Gasol down there. They haven't been too great at defending the rim, and they might lean on him more without Ibaka. That's more rebounds to go around for Vooch. So I think Vooch is definitely in play today for GPPs. We talked about Plumlee. We talked about Nurkic. That's pretty much it for our position-by-position breakdown. I had to go fast at the end there because we're running out of time here. But I hope you enjoyed the podcast. We had a lot to talk about, and I think we got it all in. So cash game plays for me today. Obviously, Kaminsky is my guy. He's the guy that stands out to me the most. I like Kaminsky. I like Waiters. The Waiters news can change because I like to play guys that have to play the minutes. Waiters isn't in that spot. I just figured it's a pace-up spot for him. We know he likes to shoot, and there's not really a defender that could stop him because they're going to have to put Beverly on Dragic. Otherwise, Dragic will crush. So I think that makes an interesting spot for Waiters. Okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Leave us some comments. Leave us some feedback. We've been starting to get more feedback lately, and I love it. If you're listening on Podbean, please give us a follow on Podbean. Leave us some comments. We love to hear back, like I said, feedback. If you're listening on iTunes, subscribe to the channel. Leave us some reviews. Bump us up these podcast rankings, people. If you like what you hear, that's all we ask for. If you're not a member of WiseTake.com, please sign up today. It's WiseTake.com. You can, of course, register for free. Membership is free. You get access to our free NBA DFS projections, our cheat sheets, our forums. We have odds charts on there. We got DVP charts, all kinds of stuff for you to use. Follow us on Twitter at @wise_take. We're also on Instagram at WiseTake. We try to put some memes up there and whatnot to try to entertain some people. So we're everywhere. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/WiseTake. So there's no excuse for you to be missing out on all the great WiseTake stuff. Anyway, that's going to do it for me. Again, if you want to contact me, you can reach us on the WiseTake forums if you're a member, or of course you can find me on Twitter at CK_013. We got 14 games tonight. It's going to be a fun GPP slate. Pay attention because these injury news information is what's going to determine whether or not you're successful tonight or not, especially in cash games. In GPPs, you can always get lucky. In cash games, it's much harder to. You're going to have to pay attention, and you're going to have to make sure that you're keeping up with the injury news and that you're not the one missing out because, it could make or break you. That's the bottom line. Anyway, like I said, I know I said it a million times. That's going to do it for us here. And as always, this is the last podcast. I'm sorry. Tomorrow is the last podcast. I think we have a 2-game slate tomorrow, so I will try. As long as they're running a slate, I'll try to do the podcast in the morning. But after tomorrow, we're off for a full week, and we are going to start bringing on some guests next week, so we're excited for that. So anyway, I may see you tomorrow if there is a slate. If there's a slate, I'll talk about it. I don't know what we're going to do with the 2 games. It's going to be tough, but I will try, and even if it's a short 15-minute pod, right? Anyway, again, as always, I should say, good luck.